We're about to see how just 7 weeks of structured training changed this runner's 5k from average to awesome. Today's park run progress report, we're looking at Jess Bray when she set her PB at the Dunedin park run course last year towards the end of May, where she ran a 20:41 on this hilly course. Now if we look at the Strava, this was part of a longer run for Jess. She did a really sound warm-up, and we'll cover that in detail shortly, with some threshold efforts prior to starting the park run. And you can see these hills in here really put a bit of a kick in the park run itself. Then she cooled down and then continued on and did another run to get her volume up for the week. Oh, didn't mean to zoom in on Ravensbourne. Let's have a look at training peaks. Now, when we look at things, we've got the park run itself greyed out a little bit darker there. This is a much higher quality performance than the park run progress report for her first ever park run that I covered last week. And the data strongly suggests Jess didn't get fitter, she just executed the course better. Even without heart rate data to look at, the splits plus her normalised power, Jess runs predominantly using power as a metric, and the warm-up all add context to tell a really clear story. This was a classic race the hills effort, not a race the flats pacing. She had splits of 3:42 for the opening first kilometre and a normalised power for that opening kilometre of 295 watts. The second kilometre was a 4:04 with a normalised power of 284 watts. Third kilometre, 4 minutes 32 seconds, normalised power of 293 watts. The fourth kilometre, 4:28 with a normalised power of 289 watts, and then the final kilometre, which includes this downhill to the finish, of 4:02 with a normalised power of 271 watts. Compared to last week's parkrun progress report, where she went out fast on the flat and paid for it, this run shows smarter commitment through the middle kilometres, which are harder because of these hills. The key indicator is the power in the third and fourth kilometre, where she had a normalised power of 293 and 289 watts respectively. That is aggressive, purposeful output where it matters most on the parkrun Dunedin course. She didn't survive the hills, she attacked them. Now the warm-up at the start is a major performance multiplier. The warm-up is exactly what you want before a hard 5 kilometres. You can see she started off with a 10-minute warm-up at level 2, then 3 by 60 seconds at level 4, with a 30-second rest interval after each of those reps. That accomplishes 3 things. It raises Jess's heart rate and oxygen delivery quickly. It activates neuromuscular recruitment, her legs are feeling awake, and it reduces that sluggish first kilometre feel many athletes get. So Jess started the run primed, not warming into it in the first couple of kilometres like many runners. That can easily be the difference between holding on in the hills versus losing rhythm and leaking time. Her first kilometre was very fast, but it didn't break the run. 3:42 with a normalised power of 295 watts. It's a big statement at the start. However, unlike last week's parkrun progress report, Jess's performance didn't collapse afterwards. She transitions into a 4:04, still holding 284 watts, still fast, still controlled. Then a 4:32, 4:28 during the hard mid-course section, with her power staying very high. So even though the first kilometre is hot, it looks like a deliberate surge rather than a mistake. This often happens when you're confident, well warmed up, and the first kilometre is flat and allows speed without excessive muscular cost. The biggest win, she kept her high power output when the course demanded it. And this is the clearest contrast versus the last week's parkrun progress report of her very first parkrun on this course. In last week's parkrun progress report, the hill kilometres caused a big time bleed, and the final kilometre looked faster, mainly because the course helped. Here, today's Jess's power on the third and fourth kilometres was higher than her second kilometre. Even though the kilometres 3 and 4 are slower splits, that's exactly what smart pacing on a hilly course looks like. Pace will slow on the climbs, but that power and her effort should stay steady or rise. She executed that effort correctly, not based on pace. The final kilometre is a faster pace but lower power, and that's okay. She ran a 4:02 with a normalised power of 271 watts. The two key points: the pace rebounds strongly coming off that hills, power drops notably from the mid-race highs. And that likely means she had train assistance, which we know from the downhill with the more favourable gradients, plus she was naturally fatigued after the hill work previously. This is still a successful pattern because the race was won in the 3rd and 4th kilometres, and that's where she earned her PB. What makes this her PB for the course? The course demands primarily patience early and controlled aggression. High commitment through the 3rd and 4th kilometres, strong rhythm to the finish, and Jess delivered that. The performance shows better preparation through her warm-up, better effort distribution through the hills, and more resilience in the hard middle kilometres, as well as a strong closing kilometre. Even without the heart rate data to confirm some of these things, this looks like a runner who was ready to race from the gun, strong enough to keep pushing the hills, and smart enough to accept the slower splits while keeping effort high. Coaching takeaway from this is you don't PB Dunedin parkrun by chasing your pace. You PB it by controlled effort through the hills. If you'd like me to review your parkrun data and help you take minutes off your 5K, check out the Parkrun Kickstart plan. The link is down below in the description.